This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below.
Just when we think we get clarity on the Jed Wills situation and the Brown situation overall, something a little bit odd happened, but it's mainly good news. The headline of the news is everybody who's slated to be on the active roster for the Cleveland Browns to start the season, all 53 of them. Now, of course, this doesn't include Nyheim Hines. This doesn't include Nick Chubb. This doesn't include anybody who's starting the season out on IR or PUP. But everybody who's on that active 53-man roster practiced today for the Cleveland Browns. That includes Jed Wills. That includes Bookie Watson. That includes literally anybody that's not on PUP or IR. They practiced today, and they have a chance to play. Now, if it's been a minute since we've talked about game week protocol, what the injury report looks like, just remember, you want to see a player get a limited and a full practice in at the very least, and practicing on Wednesday is a good sign towards playing on Sunday. Which brings me to the Jed Wills thing, because the first thing we heard was that Jed Wills is going to practice. And then we hear from Kevin Stefanski, I believe, before practice. And he says, yeah, Jed has a chance to play on Sunday. They have the practice. They talked to Jed Wills, I believe, after the practice. And Jed Wills says he's not going to be starting at left tackle. This could mean a number of things. The thing that pops in my mind is that if Jed is just saying he's not starting Sunday, that doesn't mean he's not going to be active to play. And if Kevin is saying he has a chance to play Sunday, the operative word is play, not necessarily start. Now, to be fair to Kevin Stefanski, he doesn't really talk in specific terms like that. He always uses, whether the guy's the obvious starter or not, more general terms. Oh, he's going to play. He's going to face the Cowboys or whatever he says. He's always vague about this. But Jed said he's not starting, which is very specific, right? He didn't say, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to play. He said he's not starting. Now, if he does not start, but he is active, I think the simplest explanation for that is the truth, but I think a lot of people are going to run with a lot of different narratives depending on how the game goes. The truth to me feels like Jed hasn't practiced since November. And because Jed hasn't practiced since November, they're not going to let him just do 2 practices and play an NFL game. They're going to at least want him to get a full week of practice, probably a couple of weeks of practice, before they put him back into the starting lineup. Maybe they'll work him in, rotate him in with Jack Conklin, rotate him in with James Hudson, whatever their plan is. But they're going to treat this the same way they're going to treat Nick Chubb, because I need to give you guys a news flash from the future. The first week that Nick Chubb is active, he's probably only going to see about 8 carries. I don't see a world where, like, Nick Chubb's active, he gets 20, he's the starter, right? Like, Jerome Ford's probably going to start that game. So it's probably a similar situation with Jed. They feel like he might be active for game day. He might not, but they feel like there's a chance that he's active on game day. We'll see how he recovers, practices tomorrow. If he practices full, I expect him to be active on game day. And they'll have him available. They'll put Jack at left tackle. And depending on how that goes, if it's an absolute disaster, if Jack cannot handle left tackle, they'll throw Jed in there, or they'll put James Hudson in and rotate James Hudson in with Jed Wills. Like, the real answers are going to be delivered to us when we get that active 48. Because we know Jed Wills obviously on the 53, but is he going to be game day active this week, or are they going to treat him like an injured player to give him a full week of practice before he goes? Because, again, he did not practice in mini camps, OTAs, or training camp, and he did not practice for the last quarter of the season because he was injured. I don't think they're going to be so reckless to just play him the week after he comes off, well, days after he comes off from the injury. So the good news is that Jed Wills is back. And even if you don't like Jed Wills, that's another solid left tackle option for the Browns to ponder. You got Jack Conklin there. Some people feel great about that. I'm a little bit more skeptical on that than most, but some people feel great about Jack Conklin there. And then James Hudson is James Hudson. So going to be interested to see what they do there. We have not really gotten the word out on what Jack is going to be doing on the right side, left side. There was some smoke there for a little while that Jack Conklin would be resuming his duties as the starting right tackle with the Cleveland Browns once he got back healthy. Does not seem like it's the case. If you're wondering if Jack Conklin will be ready to play Sunday, I would assume, right? He's had 2 weeks of practice. Usually the Browns want to give you a full week of practice, a little bit of game reps before they feel comfortable putting you back out there. This is what they do, right? And it's important to remember when it comes to bringing guys back on injury, the Browns are much more willing to be patient than aggressive on those timetables when it comes to most cases, right? I think the one case where they weren't patient was Deshaun Watson wanting to play a lot, right? Like when he had that shoulder injury, he came back too early. He basically admitted that he came back too early and it was him pushing the effort to come back early. Same thing happened with Baker Mayfield. There are times where players, the quarterback, can throw their weight around and kind of get their way, but usually for everybody else, the Browns are going to be pretty conservative on this approach. They're going to wait. They're going to be patient. They're going to get you through a week of practice. They're not going to look how long they took with Denzel Ward to come back from concussion protocol. Look how long they let Jack Conklin come back. Look how much time they're letting Jed Wills take back. Like, it's important to remember that's how the Browns operate. They're going to take their time and not let that, how the Browns operate, be a reflection on how you feel about Jed. Because I know a lot of people felt like it was Jed's fault that Jed wasn't ready or wasn't active for on Monday or whatever it was that people were upset about. The Browns take it very slow with injuries. It's very important to remember that. Now, that being said, how does that go for the matchup on Sunday? Because you know that there's a good chance Jack Conklin starts at left tackle at this point. I don't see them going with James Hudson, even though I wouldn't be surprised if James Hudson got out there. But I think if the smoke is saying it's going to be Jack Conklin at left tackle, right? Like there's enough smoke out there that it feels like it's going to be Jack. And if Jack's at left tackle against Micah Parsons, how do I feel about that matchup? Remember, Micah only rushes off that left side 60% of the time. So it's not like he's going to only go up against Jack. The one thing Jack has going for him in that matchup is his length, right? He's a long tackle. So he's going to be able to use that length to his advantage. Where I do worry about Jack playing on that left side for the first time is not necessarily in the man blocking situations. It's when he has to deal with stunts, twists, and pulling, right? When he has to pull as a tackle, or he has to pull in front of traffic on a run play to the left side, or he's pulling to the right side. Like those are the things, the more advanced mirror movements that he's going to have to do, flipping from right to left. That's the stuff that I worry about with him. Like just a straight up pass set going off his other foot. He'll be fine in a straight up pass set going on his other foot. It's more about his ability to pull. It's more about his ability to anticipate a stunt and twist and pass that off. You got Joe Bitonio there, and Joe is one of the most aware heads up offensive linemen in football. So he'll be fine there ultimately, because Jack Conklin. Now that would be a left tackle. Jed Wills is not great at that, right? Jed Wills is not the greatest stunt twist guy. He's not the greatest improviser in the world. It's just improvising, flipping sides. I do have some concerns there. And with Micah Parsons and with the Browns projected to play a lot of more 5-0 protections this year, I do think that they're going to go stunt twist heavy. If I'm the Dallas Cowboys, if I'm Mike Zimmer with the blitzes, they're going to try to send them, get you to kick slide to the wrong direction. Like, they're going to really stress that left side of that offensive line, try to get their numbers, try to get you confused, try to make you live with the head on a swivel. And for the Browns to be able to run the ball without Nick Chubb, it's not going to be as simple as man blocking. Like, you got to get out ahead, you got to pull, you got to do some extra stuff. Can Jack Conklin do those things? And there's a real question of like, hey, do you want to make some adjustments and maybe be a little bit tricky with the offensive line when you're running to the right side? Maybe throw in a Jack Conklin look every once in a while, because Jack is such a dominant run blocker on that right side, and then have James Hudson in on that left side, who James is a fine run blocker as well if Jet's not in there. So a lot of different ways they can handle it, a lot of pros and cons to every different way that the Browns can handle this. But the good news and the exciting news is that the injury report is empty for the Cleveland Browns. Everybody's back at practice. All 53 guys on that active roster are back. The injuries are done. We're healthy for the first time, I believe, since November. Not even November. Since September of 2023, the Browns are healthy. And this was what they wanted with how they did the preseason. Look, I was a critic and still am a critic of how little the Browns showed anything or played any of their starters in the preseason. This was clearly their goal. So phase one of this goal that they had to be completely healthy, they are here, right? They are much healthier right now than they probably would have been if they played in the preseason. So that's when there. Now, the second phase to this is, will they be just as prepared as they would be if they would have played some of these guys in the preseason? Well, we're going to have to wait for Sunday for that. But phase one, they got there. They're much more healthy than they probably, well, not much more, but they're healthier than they would have been if they played in the preseason. Let's see if they get to that second phase. Will they be more prepared against Dallas week 1? Only that game at Sunday, 4:00. That's the only time we're going to find out about that. But that's my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.